You teach a slave how to read, they'll start reading books. They'll realize the world is so much bigger than the world they live in now. They'll never be content to be a slave again. And whatever you do, don't ever let a slave read the Bible. And Frederick Douglass, as a child, decided with his resourcefulness that if the person who owned him and could kill him and not be prosecuted, missing stuff that they were doing, so they didn't have to miss it.
Part 3.
Focus.
Our special episode. Subscribe to www.
Resourcefulness. Resourcefulness. But Myron, I don't have any resources. Maybe. And maybe you just don't have enough resourcefulness to see the resources and use the resources you have. I submit to you that resourcefulness is more important than resources. Because if you're resourceful, you will figure it out. I loved when I read A Narrative in the Life of Frederick Douglass. By the way, if you haven't read that book, I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, like you want to read a book that will change your life, read A Narrative in the Life of Frederick Douglass, his autobiography. When he talks about the fact that his master's wife was teaching him how to read. And he talks about the fact that his master came in one day and caught his wife teaching Frederick Douglass and other slave children how to read. And he just went off. Woman, you can't teach these slaves how to read. You teach a slave how to read, they'll start reading books. They'll realize the world is so much bigger than the world they live in now. They'll never be content to be a slave again. And whatever you do, don't ever let a slave read the Bible. And Frederick Douglass, as a child, decided with his resourcefulness that if the person who owned him and could kill him and not be prosecuted, could sell his mother away from him or him away from his mother, if that person was that dead set against him learning how to read, it was the most important thing he must learn how to do. And because he worked in the big house, he would take leftovers from the master's table and exchange it with poor white kids in the neighborhood in exchange for them teaching him how to understand letters. And every time he found a piece of paper with some letters on it, he would take it back to his slave quarters and he would practice his reading until he got so eloquent. Like I was 20 something when I read his autobiography. There were words in his autobiography I had to look up in the dictionary. This is a self-taught man. He became so eloquent as an orator that he gained an audience with the President of the United States and the Queen of England and was instrumental in the abolition of slavery in the United States of America. Not because he had resources, but because he had resourcefulness. We could all learn something from that. And like, how am I going to have an excuse after that? Okay. How are you going to have an excuse after that? Okay. Resourcefulness. Experience. What does that mean? Experience means you have to actually know how to do something that other people care about, right? I talked about income. Income, what's income? Income is the result of value exchange, right? Like the amount of income you create or that you make is going to be determined by the amount of value that you create and the number of people you create that value for. If you create value for more people, you're going to make more income. If you create a higher level of value, you're going to create more income. So experience, you have to actually know something that gives you the ability to solve someone else's problem. Here's what's really cool. Just look at the problems you solve for yourself. That'd be a pretty good place to start showing other people how to solve their problems. Like, I'm not good at everything. I'm just good at the stuff I'm good at. You know what? You know one of the reasons I'm really good at teaching sales? Because I was so terrible at sales when I first got started. I was terrible. It was like, I'm going out knocking on people's doors. I'm doing these presentations for this insurance, and everybody's saying, no, bro. So, bro, no. Oh, bro, no. N-O. It's a two-letter word, bro. Which letter are you having a hard time with? The N or the O? No. Not for a month, not for a week, not for a year, but for 18 months. Everybody that I talked to said no. And I talked to a bunch of everybody's.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, so I saved hundreds. But the money I saved, thought I'd get a wax figure myself.
Everybody said no. But you know what I did? I lasted through the learning curve. And finally, I did a presentation and somebody said yes. And I got a commission check. $125.66. I can see that. I can see it. There was red.
Thank you for joining us this morning on this special educational program on the fundamentals of financial freedom provided to us from Myron Golden. The brother is electrifying, and it's a great way to start our day. a little mind stimulation, and developing some different concepts to kind of reshape, right? Kind of reshape our focus here. So enjoy. And while we have you, make sure you head on over to www.brotherill.com for more exclusive content.
It was red ink. It was printed in red ink on like gray paper. And I'm like, I showed it to my wife. I said, baby, we're going to be rich. Within a couple months, I was the top sales guy in our office every month. How did you go from not being able to make a sale to being top? I went through all the ways that wouldn't work to make a sale. The only thing I had left were ways that would work. But see, some of us are unwilling to do enough iterations while we're bad in order to get good.
Right.
But is your freedom worth it? I submit to you, if yours isn't, your children's is. Energy. Everything is energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form. That's the first law. That's the law of energy, the law of energy conservation. Everything is energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form. Now, when you understand that high income, which is what a lot of people would like to have, it's a good, like, it's easier to create wealth from high income than it is from low income, but it's possible to create wealth from low income. Let's don't be confused. Like, whether you're rich, poor, or middle class is not determined by how much money you make. I know a lot of people make a lot of money and they're still broke. So whether you're rich, poor, or middle class is not determined by how much money you make, but it's determined by what you do with the money once you get it. But high income is always the result of high energy. High income is a high energy result. Here's a principle for you. No high energy result will ever flow to a low energy source. No high energy result will ever flow to a low energy source. What does that mean? Okay. 747. Y'all heard of those, right? Big old airplane, has an upstairs, holds 419 passengers. Fully loaded with passengers, luggage, and fuel, 987,000 pounds. Please, somebody say, that's heavy. That's heavy. That's heavy. Oh, it does fly. But it shouldn't, should it? It doesn't. I'm a little confused. A 747 is so heavy that when they first made it, they were having problems landing it because every time they landed, the tires would blow out because they got so hot landing that much weight. Then some genius figured it out. If we fill the tires with nitrogen or hydrogen, one of them, one of those jijins. What is it? Hydrogen? Nitrogen. I thought it was nitrogen. Okay, nitrogen. Where you fill the tires with nitrogen, nitrogen gets cold under pressure. So when you land the plane, the tires actually get colder from all the pressure and they don't blow out. Wow, this is so cool. I know. I thought it was pretty cool. But here's my point about the 747. You know what you will never see in your life? You will never see a 1974 Volkswagen Beetle engine strapped to the wing of a 747. And if you did, it would not even budget. Why? It does not produce enough energy. In order to fly a plane that weighs that much, you need a lot of what? Energy. And a 747 has 4 engines. If 3 of them go out, it can still fly. It won't fly very straight and it won't be very easy to fly, but it'll still fly. That's how overpowered a 747 is. What if you overpowered your business to the same degree that a 747 is overpowered? What if you brought way more energy to your business and your enterprise than was required for you to succeed? Be a whole lot harder to fail. Discipline. I'm just going to say this about discipline. What is discipline? Discipline is doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, the way you're supposed to do it, and doing it that way every time you do it. That's discipline. And then, optimism. Here's the interesting thing about optimism. Has anybody ever heard of, I think it's called the Reisenberg principle of uncertainty? Anybody ever heard of that? Okay. Edward's heard of it. I've heard it. Okay. So it states that when you look at an object, I'm not a scientist and I don't play one on television, so this is as close as I understand it. For all my scientists out there. Okay. When you look at an object, you looking at the object changes the nature of the object when you look at it. Okay. So why did you say that? Because optimism is a perspective. It's looking at the positive side of a thing. I believe that your ability to succeed in life is going to be largely contributed to by your ability to look at the positive side of negative situations. Why? Because anybody can see the positive side of positive situations. But how much practice do you have seeing the positive side of negative situations?
Trump's Project 2025 agenda will give him unchecked political power with no guardrails, and it would take Black America backwards. Project 2025 would strip away our voting rights.
Excuse the fake news. We are streaming from YouTube.
You developing optimistic muscles is going to do to your ability to succeed in life. You got to have some optimism. But Myron, you don't understand. It's so bad right now. I understand that it's bad right now. But if it's bad right now, in that badness, there's a seed for an equal opportunity for good. Why? Have you ever written on a one-sided piece of paper? Have you ever eaten a one-sided piece of bread, one-sided pancake, flipped a one-sided coin? No. Why? It cannot exist. So if the situation is bad, flip it over and find the good. Not because it makes the situation better, but because it makes you better. Even the train agrees. Okay, so optimism. Optimism changes how I look at a situation. And remember, I don't see things the way they are. I see things the way I am. And remember, people don't see you through their eyes. People see you through your eyes. And if you want people to look at you differently, learn to look at yourself differently. If you want to see a different situation, look at it from a different side. And then lastly, momentum. You know, momentum would be easy to create were it not for inertia. If you didn't have to overcome inertia and you could just create momentum, momentum would be easy. But momentum, like getting a little bit of momentum is hard. You know what's really hard? Losing momentum and getting it back. That is really hard. That feels like, oh my goodness, I'm at the dentist and they're like doing dental work with no Novocaine, right? When you have momentum, everything feels easier.
Yes.
It's not necessarily easier, it just feels easier.
Yeah.
When you lack momentum
Yeah.
and all you have is inertia, everything feels hard. What's inertia? Inertia is an object at rest will remain at rest until and unless it's acted upon by an outside force. What's momentum? An object in motion will continue in motion until and unless it's acted upon by an outside force. Do enough iterations when it feels like it's not working, keep doing it. When it feels like nobody's buying, everything feels easier. It's not necessarily easier, it just feels easier. When you lack momentum and all you have is inertia, everything feels hard. What's inertia? Inertia is an object at rest will remain at rest until and unless it's acted upon by an outside force. What's momentum? An object in motion will continue in motion until and unless it's acted upon by an outside force. Do enough. And when you're in balance, you're see things the way they are. I see things the way I am. And remember, people don't see you through their eyes. People see you through your eyes. And if you want people to look at you differently, learn to look at yourself differently. If you want to see a different situation, look at it from a different side. And then lastly, momentum. You know, momentum would be easy to create were it not for inertia. If you didn't have to overcome inertia and you could just create momentum, momentum would be easy. But momentum, like getting a little bit of momentum is hard. You know what's really hard? Losing momentum and getting it back. That is really hard. That feels like, oh my goodness, I'm at the dentist and they're like doing dental work with no Novocaine, right? When you have momentum, everything feels easier. It's not necessarily easier, it just feels easier. When you lack momentum and all you have is inertia, everything feels hard. What's inertia? Inertia is an object at rest will remain at rest until and unless it's acted upon by an outside force. What's momentum? An object in motion will continue in motion unless it's acted upon by an outside force. Do enough iterations when it feels like it's not working, keep doing it. When it feels like nobody's buying, keep selling. When you're not generating any income, keep doing the business activity.
Right.
Until what? Until the thing that has been working on you has worked on you long enough for it to work for you.
Wow.
And if you will do that, you will see that you will have epic freedom. That is those are the fundamentals of financial freedom. And if you will practice them, I believe you can experience epic financial freedom in your life. Stay blessed by the best. Hope this video has helped you. And if not, watch the next one. It probably will. All right.
Thank you, good brother. We appreciate that. And thank you all for joining us today. You know, all the time, share your thoughts with us in the comments, in the chat. We're going to continue to bring you this level of intelligence to continue to help rear you in the right direction. The fundamentals of financial freedom. That was an exclusive session with the good brother Myron Golden. We surely appreciate him. And this is just the inside of Brother L's mind. This is my perspective. So I just wanted to share this with all of the entrepreneurs and high performers and the general peoples of the earth. We appreciate you guys. Continue to follow us. Continue to subscribe at www.brotherl.com. Peace.